All right, look like we're in there again. Greetings, everyone. We got the privilege to do this beautiful day the Lord has given us. Don't look like nothing been done. So I gotta set up everything for the cycler and the patty cartridge and the PureFlow system for treatment. So just bear with me and I'll start setting up, okay? I'm gonna start with setting up the cycler first, right here. First opening up the door on it. Open the door on it. Get it started. Okay. Then turn it on. Switching it back, right back here. Put that on. Some flashing lights there. Okay. Cartridge. Open it up. Set the debris off to the side because you're gonna discard all that in the bag. Okay, you're gonna remove all the paper tags, tapes on it for security. Make sure everything is intact. Okay. You want to look for the small female to female adopter right here, better known as the peanut. You want to take that off. Pull it off the hose. Slide right off. And I just set that off to the side right here. Because you're going to need it later. Okay. Also remove the hoses from right here on this little plastic cover here. Let me just get positive control of it. Take all that off and pull that off. So, and then you want to just know when you have it upright because you'll be able to see the you'll be able to see the smiley face. That's how you know you have it upright. Okay, and that way it goes upright into the cycler. Okay, and you have one more last tab here that I need to pull off as well. I'm going to inspect the arteria and the venous sanitary line as well with the white tabs on it. Got the venous here, blue, and arteria here, red. And you're going to remove those tabs as well. And make sure both connectors are tight. And they are tight. Okay. Then you can go ahead and insert your cartridge. Make sure you seat your tube well into the valves, pressure valves. You got 3 of them. You got one on the right where I'm at now. No, 2 on the right where I'm at now. And 1 on the left, top left. Make sure they both seated properly. Okay, before you close the door, make sure that nothing is protruding to close the door from closing. Once you close your door, go ahead and connect your pod. Connect it. You got a small hole here on the side of this cycler. put the tube in and connect it and tighten it up. Okay, and then I can hold the tubes here. You just want to get them kind of untangled there. Okay, keep positive control of your saline connector. Okay, and I'll just set that up off on the side with the female adapter. Because I'm gonna need some saline now, which I already have right here. Saline, 0.9% saline. You want to check the date on it. Got a lot number, but you want to mainly check the date, May 22. So you get it in there. So there you go. Open that up. Okay. And have a little rubber plastic cap on it. We're going to remove that and insert the saline tube. And be careful not to pierce the bag when you insert it. So I usually set it up here. Insert mine in. Right here. Saline tube. Take the safety cap off. Take your time and insert it. Kind of go from side to side to get it started, then keep it straight until you get it kind of twisted side to side until you get it completely in. Make it seal from one end to the other. Seal. You can hang it on your saline pole. You'll be ready to start the first part of the cycle, which you got 2 gold bars at the top flashing, and the only light on is your add fluid. So we go ahead and add fluid, and then you get a series of tests that are going to go through for 23 minutes. Okay, and just keep in mind the process. We went through, we open the door, and then we cut the light on. Then we put the cartridge in, and then close the door. After connecting the appropriate connectors, and then we connected the saline bag, and now it's going through the priming process. Okay, so it's priming the system. Okay, and I'll be setting up. Matter of fact, I've already started setting up. I have a 2x2 that I have sitting over here with 6 sets of 2x2 gauze for when treatment starts, because you have to get your treatment table prepared as well, so that everything will be successful. Basically start setting everything up. As you can see, there's quite a few items that you're going to need, but they'll become very familiar as you go through the treatment process. You know, the gloves, of course, you need those. The needle. We use the 16 gauge for a buttonhole needle. So they for the fistula. I got one 3mm syringe for the heparin. You need that to help with the thinning of the blood, so it's treatment will go even better. Circulation of the blood. Of course, the tourniquet, you need one. tape. Okay. You need 2 at a minimum 10 milliliter syringes for flush back the saline for the lines in the fish lens for your arteria and your venous lines. You also need which I keep over here close by. Everything you should keep kind of close by anyway, but this except for so that you can prep the site and keep it moist when you clean it off, to knock the scab off or whatever for wound cleaning. I told you about the heparin. Get that, we'll sanitize that in the alcohol pads, which I have here. At least 2 to 4 of those. You know, clean off the alcohol, clean off the heparin, and pour some for the site when you clean the site off. So go ahead and put some of this trash. Keep a bag here where I can use this same bag that we took the cartridge out of. Put a piece of tape on that. Hang it on the side here. Tape right here. Try to keep everything in proximity. I'm a senior citizen, so I try to limit myself when moving too far away from where I have to work at. Extra steps. God, I did a reach. Okay. I just put that. Just put that little piece on there, tape on that. I use this reflective tape or something from the $1.25 tree. Hang that bag right there on the side. Okay. I don't know why you got like prior planning. Prevent, having a kind of piss poor performance, Something I learned in the military when I was in 20 years in the military. So I'm gonna also check the chlorine while I'm here. Got to do that, and I'm gonna check all that stuff off the list. You say check that stuff off the list after it's done. And to do that, we need to have the tester kit for the chloromics. Okay, which I keep. I just made a little cup that I got here. Test that. And I keep a little piece of tissue or something in it with the test strip. Okay, so the first thing he wants you to do is to remove the orange cable, which is right here, and it'll tell you that on the panel. So I removed that. Pull it up out of the tub or the dice container. Go ahead and hit the green button, let it know so they can go ahead and start dispensing. And that's going to take about maybe a minute before it starts dispensing. You hear the valves open and close and allow the solution to come through, and then it'll stop, and I can test it with this strip here. Okay, I'll just show you what this strip looks like right now, so you'll know. You have a little opening up here on the top where you can just pierce it open. Okay, and inside here is flat. As you can see, it's flat. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Get a little closer there. See? And look, it's flat. And then we'll slide on one side, and we're gonna test it. I'll show you how that's done. Okay, there's the valves open, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the strip in it, the cup, so that the fluid will be able to test it, because it needs that fluid to test it. Okay, we coming up on 15 minutes here before we're ready to do the tap and snap for the second portion. But try to get all of it done, you know, during one time, so that way I can test it. They prefer you testing the batch after it's completed after 2 hours, but as long as you test it and make sure that it's good after before treatment, you're good. Okay, that's the panel letting me know that to reconnect the line. So I'll reconnect those lines with that line. Make sure it's on nice and tight, and both clamps are open. They prefer you to sometimes use this to hold it over there, but I make sure they're both tight so it's no problem. Once it's reconnected, go ahead and hit the green button. Let you know the connection been done. You already have your strip in there. It's been over a minute, it's about a minute. You want to leave it in the solution, so just kind of like dab it off a little bit. Then you want to take it and turn it back to itself. And I have a chart that I'll be reaching for momentarily to compare it. I have one down here on this table, on this cover, but I'm going to use this one where you can see it a little better. That way you can see it verified a little better. It's the 0.0, and that's what it wants you to match it up with the 0.0, the first one here. And once it matches up there, you know that that batch is good for treatment. And if it's anything other color than that, then it have to be retested. And if it doesn't test out the second time, the batch have to be discarded, and you'll have to make a new batch. I have never had to do that, so thank God I haven't. So that's a good thing. You can just discard this item in the bag as well. Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead on and let the system know that the chloromikes or the chlorine pads. So you hit, as you can see, you have a yellow flashing light now. But since we did the test and it was a go, we hit the green button and let the system know. Okay, so you have green flashing light now, and you have 80 hours and 12 minutes before this batch expires. So if I wasn't going to set up use treat, once I set up, I got 80 hours, 11 minutes to use this batch before it expired. So that's more than enough time. So you can set up treatment anytime before that, after that batch is made. Because it's a 40-liter batch, so it took about 4 hours to make that. But it lasts for more than 80 hours. But right now it's 8 hours and 11 minutes. Okay. I'll go ahead and discard this. Before I do, I want to go ahead and test your alarm system over here. You can see it on the side here. Say device used to test the blood. I have a little bottle right here to test it. Let's use this. Dab a little bit with some water. Dab a little bit with some water. You don't need much. And just run it across the bars back here. And you'll hear it alarm if the batteries are good in it. And you did, so it's no need to test it again. It's a little slot on the side where you can easily remove and insert the batteries. And once that test is complete, you just set it back over here. And I always try to do that during this process. A lot of times it's recommend doing the tap and snap, but as long as you check it before you treatment start, it's the most important thing, because you don't want it to have a leak and you see it but you don't hear it go off because you failed to test the alarm tester for the blood circuit. All right, now we just go ahead and take this little handy dandy cup here and wipe it down, and I keep a couple strips over here. I'll just take one and stick it in there. Get one of these little gauze and have it ready, so after this batch is used successfully and another one is made, I'll be ready to test it. Keep it back over here. Just keep a separate cup for if you're going to use it for testing the chloramides or the chlorine off to the side somewhere. Just use it for that, because you don't want to use a coffee cup you've been drinking out of or something. Like, I know no one would do that, but you know, it's easier this way. That way it'll keep like chemicals together. Coming up right on 9 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and prime the lines, because I'm going to have to do that anyway. So, and to do that, that's part of the process you'll have to do with the, I think everybody can see that, yeah, for before you can connect it to your cycler, okay, and because you want to take that green flashing light off of the panel. In order enough to do that, and we've already successfully check the batch to make sure that the chloramides wasn't no chlorine in the batch. Okay. All right. So what you want to do at this time is just hit the green button. But before you do that, you want to check your chicken feed and make sure that the tops are not loose on these on each one of these ends. Okay. Then you can hit your green button once, and you notice the fluid comes through the line and go back to itself. Okay, and then you hit it twice. Okay, and it's ready for connection. Okay, before you connect it though, you will need to identify one of the chicken feet as to which you want to use, and I usually pull down on one that I'm going to use. That way the two that's up, I know I didn't prime. It's just something I do. And then it's already coming through the lines. Your working clamp is open. Okay, and you just want to prime it a little. I have a towel down here on the floor. You can't see it. You're just priming let a little fluid out. And don't tighten it too much. Okay, and then just close your operational clamp, because these 3 clamps are permanent, and if you close it, you won't be able to open it. So if I was to close this, I would have to use a different line on here, so you wouldn't have no need to panic. However, if you close all 3, we will have a problem, because you won't be able to use this batch because you locked yourself out. Okay, all right. Leave this locked until you connect it to your cycler, which is going to be about 6 more minutes from now. And we'll go through the process of doing the tap and snap and get all of these connected. While you have this brief time, what I normally try to do, and try to use all of my time wisely, is prepare some tape, because I'm going to need some tape. I usually take about 3 inches, four 3 inches, just fold them in half and kind of set them here. So that way I can have something to cover the arteria and the venous site. Okay, and it's just some silk tape here, and just give yourself a folding in so you can easily remove it. About 3 inches, something enough to cover the 2-inch gauze that you have here prepared. Okay, they're all going to work together. Okay, you have enough to cover that. And they're under here waiting until the treatment begins. And you'll have, like I said, about 4 of those. Okay. That way you have them ready ahead of time. Like I say, prior planning prevent this poor performance. You don't want to try to tad and hold the site at the same time. And I also have some 1/2-inch tape here that I use as well. I'll use the 1/2-inch tape, about 3 inches. Keep it off to the side. You never know, you want to have a little bit extra for your on hand to cover that arteria and that venous site. Keep that gauze down. You don't want no blood coming up off of that gauze. And this tape works pretty well, and it's not allergenic. I'll do about 4 of those as well, about 3 inches. Set them off to the side. Be out of sight. Keep that side off. Coming up on 2 minutes. Okay, we got everything pretty much prepped. Always wise, you know, and it took me a while to realize it, but I'd keep things like in a pretty much close proximity in the same room. I give you a quick brief overview how things are kind of set up over there off to the side. And you got labs, the emergency kits, okay, all your cartridges, your sacks. Okay, I have backup sacks over there as well. So you want to keep things, well, I do anyway, in close proximity to where you're going to be working, so you can make it easier for you when you need it. So when shipment comes in, it'll be in the same, pretty much the same vicinity, and other items that you're going to use. It makes it a lot easier. Like I said, I'm a senior citizen, so I don't want to be walking back and forth from one room to the other. You know, make it easier. The easier I make it on myself, the less energy I can have for the rest of the day if the Lord gives it. Okay, coming up on, well, we came up on 2 minutes. It sometimes goes back to 4, but that's part of the cycling process. Okay, so that's understandable. As long as we get to the right numbers at the end, that's what's important. You don't want to have no alarms, because that will stop everything. Okay, see, that's what it just then did. It went from 2 back to 4 minutes. I heard it beep and it jumped back, and that's part of the test. It hadn't did it when I thought it had, but I recall it doing that. And when I asked them at the center why it does that, they didn't have an answer. But they said, well, the answer they had was, as long as it goes through the proper procedures. That's just one of the tests. So as long as you get your end result numbers, then when it going back from 2 to 4 wasn't really an issue. So I just asked that, like I said, as long as it goes to the proper numbers, it's fine with me as well, because I can't do nothing about it anyway. All right, look like we're right at 1 minute on here. Right now it's at 21.5. Okay. We should be getting along after this minute, and then we'll have to mute it if everything checked out properly. We'll mute it. You'll have some 8s, complete red 8s on the front of the panel like you do now. And you have 8s here, 8s here, 8s here, complete 8s here on all 3 rows. Okay, you hit the mute. Okay, it'll give you another alarm. Then it'll give you numbers, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and then you hit the mute again. Okay, that completes the first priming process, the first side of it. Now you do the process of what we call it, the tap and snap, which you'll be checking in lines. And you start out with your arterial line, locate it, and run it down and snap it. Okay, find the T connector, which is on the arterial line, and continue to snap it down. Okay, follow it through to the tray, to where your pod is right here. Check it, Make your pod, you made that earlier connection on your pod, so that's connected. Okay, follow it through on the other side to your dialyzer. Over to the other side where your dialyzer is right here. You say that because you're going to remove the plastic tabs from that and discard those. You have one at the top, you have one at the bottom. So you want to remove those. Okay, bottom one, and keep a firm control of the dialyzer with your other hand because it'll fall off. You don't, and then you can remove the rest of the tubes from the tray on the cartridge and the rest of the paper tapes from the dialyzer. This is the 172 Charlie cartridge, so you have an additional intravenous port on the end for administering medicine or whatever, but we won't be using that, so ensure that you lock off the clamp on that particular connector. And then you want to go ahead and tap your dialyzer at least 10 times upright. And then put it in your dialyzer holder upright, the blue clamp up. Okay, then you go back to the other side and locate your Venus line, the blue line, and follow it down. Snap it. What you're doing is you causing the saline to go through the lines and fill the lines so that you have a successful fluid flow. Okay, then you go back to your arteria. You would bring that clamp down and it's still open. Okay, and then snap it again. Just a good snap and tap is going to allow you to have a good transfer when you start your system up, so you won't have no air in the lines and you won't get any alarm 11s, and which will cause your circuit to have to be reset. You'll learn all that as you go through the process. Okay, we move from the artillery back over to your dialyzer. You want to tap that again. You know, these are a little sturdy, so your hands might be fragile like mine, so you probably need a towel or something just to tap it again 10 additional times. At this time, you want to make sure you remove the paper tag off the front of the dialyzer and the blue clamp, and you want to prime that line as well. Okay, you should be able to see that. I'm going to let some of the fluid out in that cloth. That same cloth I have, I use for that as well. Okay, close that and clamp that blue clamp off. Okay, at this time, you're ready to hit stop. And when you get stopped, you should get your prescription for what is required for the treatment to come up on here. Okay? And that's your stop button. Okay, and your treatment comes up accordingly. And what will be required now, after you're going to make your connections, and I'll go through that process as well. But you will be putting in the additional information as you get it once the weight and temperature and things, all of the vitals have been put in. Okay, and I'll show you about the tablet that's used for that procedure as well. Okay. So now we need to probably take these off. Get another pair. Yeah. lines up so should have changed them before I get into when your hands is kind of damp like in the previous pad. They don't have no powder or nothing like that, you know. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate that. Okay. Alright, first you want to locate your T-connect. And it's on your arterial line, the red line. Okay, because you want to prime it. Alright. I always keep a little towel down there, so I go ahead and prime it. Let a little fluid out. See, the drip on there. Tighten it back up. And go ahead and lock that white clamp. Okay. Then you'll find your sanitized line for your dialysate and your saline, white and your green clamp. Okay. You can go ahead on, lock that clamp off, that green one, lock off that white. Okay. And you want to maintain positive control of that green sanitized line. Now you can hang it up here out of the way. Okay, so it's hold right there and won't get contaminated with anything. And then make that connection with that saline line to the T-connect, which you know is on your arterial line. Okay, you know you got it locked, and you also have your connector for your additional saline line locked. So go ahead on, you can remove that cap. Put that cap in the trash. Make that T-connector with the saline line, and you have your complete saline line connected. So that way when it's time for treatment, you'll be able to wait to administer any saline from these two white clamps here in the event that the pressure is too high or too low. Okay, and you keep that handy at the treatment table. Okay. If I'm doing that, that's when you want to locate your chicken feet. You've already primed your line, and I always identify mine with that down and let my people know that's on treatment. If somebody's taking my spot, that that's the line that's been chosen. We know this line is clamped, so nothing's going to come out. We didn't tighten it too much, so we'll remove that. A little fluid will come out, so that towel is still down there and handy. Throw that cap away, and then you connect your sanitized line that's been secured here to that batch. And you can open both those lines at that time. Your top one and your bottom green. And you don't have no flashing lights, so you know the lines are open, and your fluid from your batch is going to be coming through, so that you have a successful treatment so far. Okay, now we're required to connect I always connect the arterial and the venous line. That way, when I finish, I can connect the drain line, so I won't have to change my gloves again. For sanity is next to godliness, or cleanliness is next to godliness, but you got to be really sanitized in this job as well. So you go ahead and lock off your red connectors, bottom and top. And if you remember earlier, I said I was going to be using these 10 millimeters for the saline. So I'm getting ready to throw up saline for the treatment now. Just Open both of those. And gently open. Okay. Keep positive control on it. Okay, so you got one here for your arterial. You got both clamps locked. Okay. Alright. You just take your arterial line and you have your female to female adapter. I'm not expecting you to work with all your hands like I am. I know exactly what I'm doing, so you know you'll learn it over time. But what's getting ready to happen here is the female adapter is going to be connected to the male end of the arterial line and maintained until it's time for treatment. But I'm gonna hook it over here on the saline holder, and then I'll draw up the saline with one of the 10 millimeters. Okay, at least 9 milliliters. So I just pull up 9 and lock that clamp off. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the arterial. With the venous. I'll bring the venous down like I did the arterial. Lock it bottom. Lock the top. Okay. Then I'll go ahead on and remove the venous from the saline bag. Connect the two female to female adapter at the other end. Flip that up. And then you can make that connection. Okay, you have both of those being maintained on here. You have a little loop on the holder, and I usually secure it on the saline holder right here. Okay, and I have one more 10 milliliter that I've been maintaining positive control of it, and I'll connect it to the end of the venous line on the saline and open that clip and pull back 9 milliliters and lock. Okay, now you got your saline for flushing your lines, your 10 milliliters. Okay, I don't normally draw the heparin until the treatment starts because it may not be today, I don't know, but if it does, I'll draw it when the time comes. So that's one of the things that you can wait on. And you can check all the lines and make sure they're open, especially all of them down here, mainly the drain line, which is the last and final line that I was telling you about. That way, once I'm finished that, I know I can close the door and that line is connected, which is connected to here. This is an unsanitized line. So once you close that line, that yellow clamp, top, close bottom second, and take that loose, then you can connect that to the drain line on your PureFlow system. Okay, and you connect that here. You can see that, make that connection. Okay, and open both them clamps. One, and I usually slide back the clamp on the tube because sometimes it will cramp the tube, and the better the flow, the better the process for circulation purposes. And it always helps the treatment, of course. Like I said, you check all your clamps, all the clamps open except for your blue and your red clamp for your arteria and your venous, because you're going to connect these to the sites on the fistula. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead at this time and turn on the notebook. We have a top switch here on the top. And this is an Apple, so you let that switch go and it'll load up. And I'll get that loaded and get out of the way so that I can finish continue my day, if I need to go to your closest veterans office, Veterans Affairs. Okay, we in there so far. That'll come up once you log in, which I just did. Okay, just to get into the applications. Once you get into the application, you have to hit the NxStage. Okay, here, and then you have to log in. And I got the password, so I can log it in. Okay, once you hear that lovely sound, you know that you are in the network. Okay, and it has all the previous treatments. Okay, and you want to start a new one, so you want to hit start new. When you hit that, it will bring up the prescriptions that's and all the information. And at this point, all I can do is say that chlorine is good and there's a 40 batch. And also, you want to check your. You want to make sure you check your sacks, how many you're using, which on this is mine, it's 1, so put that, and the chloramite passed, and you want to check the serial numbers. You have serial numbers for your dialyzer, and your cartridge, and your sac. So you want to make sure those correspond in the tablet before you start treatment. You have to, the pack usually be the same, but and then if you have to change it, you can go inside of it, have different prompts. Or if you make a mistake, you can always cancel it. It's not a problem. Just read the screen. Okay? So that's on the notebook. Okay? The only other thing I need to do is what I hadn't been doing is checking whatever it is I have to do off the list. Okay. And most people don't need a list, but I need a list. So you got to set up the site, check. Table, tape, check. No labs. Connect the lines, check. Test chlorine, check. Tape, snap and tap, check. Sanitize, check. Turn on the tap, check. Update settings, no, I don't need to do that. Restock supplies, check. So, and this is in like that erasable ink, so that little, just put it on a little piece of document protector. For me anyway, make it easy that way. I'm like, I know I checked it off, so I can continue to do whatever it is I need to do. And set it back up here. And then my supervisor, she'll be able to see it too when she look at it, find out, instead of wondering whether I did it or not. Okay. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this, and if you learned anything from it or liked it, then hit like at the bottom, and have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you.